Alex's absence looms over every decision Spencer makes. Her death in childbirth, a choice she made to save their son, becomes the catalyst for his ruthless pragmatism. Though she appears only in fragmented memories and dream sequences, her influence is visceral. Spencer's refusal to remarry, despite a transactional relationship with a widowed rancher, rumored to be Julia Roberts' character, underscores his undying loyalty. "You're not her," he warns the widow in a rare moment of vulnerability. Their bond is built on mutual survival rather than love. The prequel teases a haunting afterlife sequence, a 1920s-themed limbo, where Spencer and Alex reunite in fleeting moments, a visual metaphor for his inability to let go. John Dutton, I now a young man, becomes a battleground for Spencer's internal conflict. Raised on stories of his mother's bravery and his father's wartime heroics, John chafes under Spencer's iron-fisted rule. Their dynamic mirrors the Dutton tradition of generational strife. Spencer views the ranch as a sacred trust, while John questions whether its preservation justifies the bloodshed. "We're not savages," John argues, confronting his father after a violent clash with corporate mercenaries. "Savages survive," Spencer retorts, his eyes reflecting the same desperation that once drove him to hunt man-eating lions in Africa. The external threats are relentless. A mining magnate, exploiting post-war demand for resources, employs tactics reminiscent of 1923's Donald Whitfield arson, poisoned wells, and bribed officials to seize Dutton land. Spencer retaliates with World War I-era guerrilla strategies, rallying local ranchers into a makeshift militia. Yet his victories are Pyrrhic. Each confrontation strips another layer of his humanity, blurring the line between protector and tyrant. Meanwhile, Tiana Rainwater Amina Neves, now a fugitive warrior, reemerges, forging an uneasy alliance with Spencer against shared enemies. Their partnership, fraught with tension, hints at the future Rainwater-Dutton feud and underscores the series' exploration of indigenous resilience. Behind the scenes, Brandon Sklenor's portrayal of Spencer's twilight years is a masterclass in physical and emotional decay. Prosthetics age him decades, while his posture, a permanent hunch, speaks to the burden of legacy. Sklenor has hinted that Spencer's arc in 1944 is a requiem for a man buried alive by his own choices, with Alex's memory serving as both his compass and his chains. Julia Schlaepfer's spectral presence in flashbacks ensures Alex remains the emotional core, her absence a gaping wound that fuels Spencer's brutality. The narrative intertwines historical stakes with intimate tragedy. The D-Day invasion and Battle of the Bulge ripple into Montana, as returning soldiers like Spencer's nephew, Jack Dutton, Darren Mann, bring PTSD and disillusionment to the ranch. A cameo from an elderly Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, bridges the generations. His advice echoes across the broken landscape. The final chapter of Yellowstone, 1944, unfolds beneath a blood-orange Montana sky, the air thick with smoke and the acrid sting of gunpowder. Spencer Dutton, battered and bleeding, stands amidst the smoldering ruins of the Yellowstone Ranch, his hands trembling not from age, but from the weight of a lifetime of choices. The corporate mercenaries lie vanquished, their leader dead at Spencer's feet, a Pyrrhic victory paid for with the last shred of his humanity. In the aftermath, Spencer staggers to Alex's grave, collapsing against the weathered headstone. The ghost of her laughter echoes as he clutches the locket she once wore, its hinge broken much like his spirit. "I kept my promise," he rasps, blood staining the soil. A flashback surges, Alex's final smile, her whispered plea to live for him, before the screen fades to white, leaving only the whisper of wind through barren plains. John Dutton, I now bearing the mantle of leadership, buries his father beside Alex. The funeral is silent, attended by hardened ranchers and the widowed ally who once kindled a flicker of hope in Spencer's heart. As John kneels at the graves, Tiana Rainwater emerges from the tree line, her presence a silent vow. The fight for the land and the soul of the Yellowstone is far from over. Notes on corrections: remove numbers and time codes, corrected spelling mistakes, maining man-eating, pyrrhic, requiem, etc. Smoothed transitions for better flow, clarified relationships and dialogue attribution. Minor punctuation and style refinements, especially around dialogue and lists. The land endures, but the enemies will change. The camera lingers on the Yellowstone scorched fields, now sprouting tentative green shoots. Jacob Dutton's voice echoes in voiceover. The land don't care who owns it. It just waits. A montage bridges the decades. John I.'s son, a young John Dutton, I toddles through the same pasture Spencer once rode across, while modern-day oil rigs loom on the horizon. The cycle begins anew. The final shot mirrors 1923's opening, Spencer and Alex, young and unbroken, galloping across the African savanna, their laughter untainted by fate. The screen darkens with the tagline, "Every legend is a ghost. Every ghost a beginning." The final act opens with Spencer Dutton alone on the Yellowstone's northern ridge, his silhouette framed against a storm-choked sky. The ranch smolders below, its fences splintered, its pastures blackened by corporate arson. In his hands, he clutches Alex's tattered journal, its pages filled with sketches of their African adventures and a single dried wildflower, a relic from her final days. His breath, labored and wheezing, mingles with the howl of the wind. He stumbles to Alex's grave, collapsing against the headstone as rain begins to fall. Flashbacks flicker. Her laughter as they raced horses across the savanna. Her blood on his hands as she whispered, "Promise me the ranch lives." A guttural roar escapes him, raw with decades of unshed grief, before he presses the journal to his chest and closes his eyes. When John Dutton I finds him at dawn, Spencer's body is cold, but his face bears a rare peace. In his pocket lies a letter, its ink blurred by the rain. "John, the land is yours now. Forgive me for what I became. Tell your son we were never the owners, just the scars it chose to bear." Welcome back, Yellowstone fans. The war changed everything, but the land never forgets its scars. Witness the haunting evolution of Spencer Dutton, once a battle-hardened hero of the African wilderness, now a weathered patriarch grappling with the ghosts of World War II and a legacy on the brink of collapse in Yellowstone, 1944. Brandon Sklenar returns, unrecognizable beneath layers of aged makeup and a voice roughened by decades of loss, as Spencer fights to protect Montana's dwindling rangelands from corporate greed and a nation in turmoil. Step into the shadows of Montana's most turbulent era with Yellowstone, 1944, a gripping prequel that unveils the harrowing metamorphosis of Spencer Dutton, a man forged by war, shattered by loss, and reborn as the iron-fisted guardian of the Yellowstone Ranch. Decades after surviving the African wilderness and World War II, Spencer, Brandon Sklenar, emerges as a grizzled patriarch, his once youthful vigor eroded by time, grief, and the crushing weight of a legacy teetering on extinction. At its core, Yellowstone, 1944 explores the weight of legacy and the brutal cost of survival through the lens of Spencer Dutton's transformation from a war-scarred adventurer to a hardened patriarch. Set against the backdrop of World War II-era Montana, the series delves into themes of generational duty, fractured identity, and the unyielding grip of the past, weaving together personal and historical turmoil to paint a visceral portrait of the Dutton family's fight for permanence in a rapidly changing world. Set against the desolate beauty of post-World War II Montana, Yellowstone, 1944 chronicles the harrowing evolution of Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklenar, a man once defined by his adventurous spirit and battlefield valor, now reduced to a hardened, grief-stricken shadow of his former self. By 1944, decades of loss have etched themselves into Spencer's soul. His wife, Alex Julia Schlafer, died tragically in childbirth after their escape from Africa, leaving him to raise their son, John Dutton, alone. The Yellowstone Ranch, once a beacon of legacy, now teeters on collapse, besieged by corporate predators capitalizing on Montana's wartime vulnerability. Spencer's days are consumed by a dual battle, defending the ranch from a ruthless mining magnate exploiting wartime resource demands, and grappling with the ghosts of his past. Flashbacks haunt him visions of Alex's laughter as they rode across untamed plains. Major changes and highlights, all timestamps and numbers are completely removed. Grammar, punctuation, and structure are corrected for a natural, flowing style. Repeated awkward phrases like battle-hardened and grief-stricken were properly hyphenated, battle-hardened, grief-stricken. Some word choices slightly polished for emotional impact. Raucous laughter trimmed to simply laughter, where appropriate to keep tone consistent. Juxtaposed with her final moments in a blood-stained bed, these memories fuel Spencer's ruthless pragmatism. He trains local ranchers in guerrilla tactics, mirroring his World War I strategies, while clashing with his son, John who resents his father's iron-fisted rule. "We're not savages," John argues, to which Spencer coldly retorts, "Savages survive." The war's ripple effects deepen the chaos. Spencer's nephew, Jack Dutton, Darren Mann, returns from the European front haunted by PTSD, his idealism shattered. Jack's friction with Spencer escalates as corporate mercenaries torch pastures and poison wells, echoing the brutality of past foes like Donald Whitfield. Meanwhile, Tiana Rainwater, Amina Neves, now a fugitive warrior, resurfaces, forging a fragile alliance with the Duttons against shared enemies, a thread tying her indigenous resistance to the ranch's fate. Amid the violence, Spencer's humanity flickers. A subplot teases his tentative bond with a widowed rancher, rumored to be played by Julia Roberts, whose pragmatism matches his own. Their relationship, born of mutual need, she offers manpower. He provides protection, slowly cracks open Spencer's emotional armor. "You're not her," he warns, yet their shared grief and resolve spark a fragile connection. Historical events loom large: the D-Day invasion and the Battle of the Bulge parallel Montana's struggles. An elderly Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, makes a bittersweet cameo, advising Spencer, "You don't own the land, it owns you." Their reunion underscores the Duttons' cyclical torment, a legacy of bloodshed and sacrifice. The story crescendos as Spencer's past and present collide. Corporate forces orchestrate a midnight raid, setting the ranch ablaze. In the chaos, Spencer confronts the mining magnate in a brutal hand-to-hand duel, echoing his younger self's ferocity. Yet, victory feels hollow. Standing at Alex's grave, he whispers, "I kept my promise." As the camera pans to John, riding into the horizon, his future uncertain, the frame lingers. Behind the drama lurks a meta-narrative, Paramount's real-world turmoil, budget cuts, and potential cancellation mirrors the Duttons' existential fight. The trailer's closing shot of Spencer silhouetted against the burning ranch fades with the tagline, "Legends aren't born, they're buried." Yellowstone 1944 is a visceral exploration of legacy's cost, how love and loss forge a man into myth, and how survival demands surrendering humanity. With Brandon Sklenor's raw portrayal and Taylor Sheridan's unflinching storytelling, the prequel bridges 1923 and Yellowstone, weaving a tale where every scar tells a story, and redemption is carved not in stone, but in blood. Following the devastating loss of Alex, Julia Schleifer, in 1923, Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklenar, enters the 1944 era as a man fractured by grief, his once vibrant spirit eroded by decades of solitary struggle. Now in his 50s, Spencer's physical transformation is stark prosthetics, and a weathered demeanor reflect a life hardened by survival. His voice, once warm with the cadence of adventure, now rasps with the weight of unspoken regrets. Raising their son, John Dutton, I alone on the Yellowstone ranch, Spencer clings to Alex's memory as both a lifeline and a torment. Flashbacks to their time in Africa, riding elephants under golden sunsets, sharing vows in the shadow of Kilimanjaro contrast brutally with his present reality, a solitary figure kneeling at Alex's grave, whispering promises to protect their son. In the final frame, Spencer and Alex reappear ghostly and ageless, riding side by side in silhouette across the African plains. The wildflower from her journal drifts into the sky, dissolving into the Yellowstone's endless expanse as the credits roll. Hey, Yellowstone faithful! If Spencer Dutton's brutal fight for survival taught us anything, it's that legacy only lives if we fight for it. Don't let this channel become a ghost town hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a breakdown theory or explosive trailer analysis. Your voice matters. Comment below. What's your theory for John Dutton's future? Key improvements made. Numbers and timestamps are completely removed. Proper punctuation and grammar, especially dialogue formatting and possessives like Spencer's and Jack's. More consistent tense, present tense narration where needed. Smooth transitions between sentences and scenes for better emotional flow. Like if you want more deep dives into Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone universe, share to recruit fellow ranchers as this saga grows wilder with every viewer. Discover the real history behind Yellowstone 1944. Who's the secret villain in Spencer's final days? Get the latest breaking news on Paramount's renewal rumors. You don't quit Yellowstone, you survive it. Stay hooked, stay ruthless, and I'll see you in the next upload. Subscribe now before the corporate vultures circle.